Happy New Year. All right, we'll call the July meeting of the Falls Township Planning Commission to order. Please rise and salute the flag on Ed's screen.
Ed's screen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Diane, instead of calling a roll, I'll just say that everyone's present with the exception of John Haney.
Okay.
All right. Since he's the one who usually calls the roll anyway. And then I guess we'll bring our first item, our first applicant in, which is Stalwart Marsville, review of an ordinance amending the provisions of the RD1 Riverfront Zoning District.
Okay.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, I apologize for being late.
All right. How you doing, Matt?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Waxman and Yakov Steele from Stalwart Equities, and Yosef Courtney, the civil engineer from Mazer, Jeff Fior from Mazer as well. Jeff's the traffic engineer. Stalwart has, by way of background.
Hang on a second, Rob. I don't think we have everybody from your group in here yet. Hey, Diane or John?
John?
That's all we have for number one.
Oh, just the two of you? Rob?
We didn't have
No,
you, Courtney?
there's four people. It should be Yosef, Jeff, Yakov, and Samuel. Where I saw them all in the
So
the
we're
room.
missing one. I guess we're missing.
There's Courtney, there's Rob. We're missing Jeff Fiore.
we
Jeff
have
Fiore
him.
is in the room.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
We have Yosef, and who else, Rob?
Is Samuel or Yakov on? Maybe they didn't make it. We can proceed.
They may be on the phone, not on video.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have them in the meeting.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
Sure. So by way of brief background, the applicant has assembled a number of properties on South Pennsylvania Avenue, the main parcel being the Solvay parcel, which comprises approximately 85 acres. Two other parcels fronting on South Pennsylvania Avenue, and a fourth parcel, which is the rear of the Rogers Foam parcel on Post. In total, that's somewhere around, I believe, 90 acres, and the applicant is proposing a warehouse structure of approximately 976,000 square feet. We have provided you a summary of the proposal along with some exhibits. Starting with Exhibit A is a existing features plan. Exhibit B, if you have it in front of you, is a good aerial that Yosef has highlighted in red the properties that we're discussing. We're not proposing to develop all of the Rogers Foam parcel, even though that's in the red, but just a portion of that parcel, the 10 acres to the rear. We've included a zoning map that shows that these parcels are all located in the RD1 Riverfront District zoning district, excuse me. That district permits a variety of residential, office, restaurant, hotel, and service type of businesses. What Stalwart is proposing is to redevelop these parcels with a warehouse building. And that would be approximately 976,300 square feet with associated parking, stormwater facilities, and related improvements. We've included for you there a site plan, Exhibit D, that shows the proposed location of the building. What we're here to talk to you tonight about is a text amendment a text amendment that would propose to modify the RD1 zoning district to allow the warehouse use in that district. It's currently not a permitted use. And so we have proposed through a text amendment to allow it to be a permitted use subject to certain conditions. And we set that forth in the text amendment. We can certainly walk through that. But to finish the remaining exhibits that we have given you, again, not directly related to why we're here tonight, but to put the application in full perspective for you all. We have also included, and we have completed a traffic impact study, but we have included 2 additional exhibits. Exhibit G, which is the passenger vehicle circulation plan, and this shows the projected routes for passenger vehicles. And then finally, Exhibit H, which is a truck circulation plan, and proposes the route for truck access in and out of this facility. If we get to land development, you'll hear a lot more details from the traffic engineer about how we are designing the facility to not only encourage but to require truck traffic to go out South Pennsylvania Avenue towards Tyburn Road to Route 13, and from there to Route 1 or wherever their destination may take them. That is the primary route that we're proposing, not a route through Morrisville Borough. So that's the background, Mr. Chairman, with the project. We're happy to walk through and explain the text amendment if and after there's questions concerning the project in general.
I guess, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I guess we'll start with Mary. You want to have any questions?
What is this warehouse supposed to be? Is this like in stone that you're hoping to put this large warehouse here?
When you say in stone, I mean, I will say to you, the applicant here has developed and does develop these facilities. At this stage, they do not yet have a tenant for the building. So we don't know if it would be one tenant occupying the full 970,000 square feet, or if it would be 4 tenants that would occupy each approximately 250,000 square feet. We're designing the building so it can accommodate 4 tenants on each of the corners, but are certainly hopeful that we could secure 1 tenant for the entire building. At this point, since we don't yet have the zoning, we haven't really started aggressive marketing, nor have we entered into any negotiations. As the process proceeds, if we're able to obtain the text amendment and start the engineering, we would start full court aggressive marketing of this building and hopefully have a commencement of construction next year and delivery a year or 2 years later, given the size of the project. But there is great demand for these types of facilities now, and the COVID situation that we're in has even increased the demand for these larger warehouse facilities.
Who normally do you, I guess, lease to? Like, what companies already are you leasing to that would use such a large space?
Be a variety of the users that you see in need, like a Walmart, for instance, a Target, for instance. All of those types of retailers need facilities to house their goods and deliver to their stores or to direct ship from those locations. So again, it could be one user that takes it all. Amazon is the preeminent user that leases more of these facilities across the country than anybody, but certainly there's a lot of competitors to them that are looking for these facilities as well to compete in the marketplace and deliver that product to customers. And they must have these facilities in areas that have a good employment base too. So this area in Lower Bucks has strong employment base. It has access to a terrific road network. We feel that this site is prime for it, and Jeff can speak more to it, given its almost direct connections, as we've depicted on the routes here, to get to 13 and to 1 with relatively ease, and that can take you throughout the whole northeast corridor.
Okay.
Tom?
Would whoever you ultimately lease to impact the traffic study? Like if you were to lease to an Amazon, is that something where you would see a lot more traffic coming through, or are these typically just designed for, tractor trailers coming through, so it's not going to make much of a difference? Like instead of having a bunch of different Amazon vans zipping in and out of there.
Right. Well, when Jeff has completed the traffic study, and Jeff's on the line here, he made certain assumptions as to the type of users and the number of passenger cars and trucks that they would have coming in and out of the facility. Jeff, why don't you elaborate on what assumptions you made and what type of truck traffic can we anticipate on average for purpose of projections?
Sure, certainly. Good evening, everyone. The first step that we did was we reached out to PennDOT with a scoping submission. That kind of outlines and provides the game plan for what we're going to study, as far as which intersections you're going to look at, how much traffic the site's going to generate, the distribution on the roadways of that site traffic. So we basically made that submission to get initial feedback from PennDOT. We also have been in correspondence with Remington and Vernick, who's the township traffic consultant, who has looked at our initial submission. And so when you're generating for traffic, you don't have a tenant and you don't have specific employee data or truck delivery data or anything like that. We use the trip generation manual, and it's based on the overall square footage of the building. And obviously, the bigger the building, the more traffic are generated. Now, what PennDOT has kind of provided a safety net to the town and kind of putting the additional burden on developers is that as a condition of getting your highway occupancy permit, which we would be required to get, we're required to do a 6-month post study of our study area. So that it'll compare what the actual traffic is versus what was projected in the original traffic study. And if it turns out that the projections were off and you're seeing areas within the study area that need to be mitigated, then it's on the applicant to provide that mitigation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So I see what kind of havoc these Amazon vans cause up around Cabot Boulevard. They have a building there that they run out of, and they store their vans in 3 or 4 different locations, and it's a mess. I would have some serious concerns if that type of applicant was going to come into this building.
Yeah, I have a question for the, I'm sorry to just run you over. I have a question for the study here. I'm looking on where it's the passenger vehicle circulation, Exhibit G, and it's looking to me that the traffic that you're looking to come in is going to be on Post Road instead of over on, say 70th Street. And the reason why I'm asking that is because Post Road in the front of that's all residential there. Yes. So you're going to be driving a bunch of trucks and vehicles through the residential area to come back to this area, or would you be going over towards where 70th Street is right up to Pennsylvania Avenue on your property?
Yeah, good question. If you look at, there's 2 circulation plans, Exhibit G and Exhibit H. G is just for passenger vehicles. So if you are going to work there and you drive your car, we're giving you multiple options, including post.
I apologize. I didn't see this one.
That's okay. And then what we did on the truck circulation, because I want to bring this up, is we feel this location's terrific because it can get right to Tyburn without passing residential. And Jeff, why don't you explain how you're designing the improvements for trucks exiting to force them down South Pennsylvania to Tyburn?
Right. So the driveway will be designed to be essentially a right turn in and a left turn out for truck traffic. So we'll play with the radii to have a big general radii for the right turn movement in coming northbound on Pennsylvania Avenue. But we're really going to have a short radius to prevent trucks from making the right turn to go north. We're also going to provide signage on the site saying if to Route 13 to Route 1, all trucks go left. So by modifying the radii at the driveway, we could prevent the trucks from making the right turn out.
So that
Well, unless you don't know who the applicant's going to be, so unless the applicant owns the trucks, you can't control where the drivers come from and where they go.
We can't control. I agree. You can't control where they come from. We do have more power over them as far as where when they exit the site. They're not going to exit on Post Road. That access is strictly for cars, and we're going to design the driveway in a way to, even if we don't make it quite 90 degrees, to steer them to make that left turn out.
But in your narrative, it indicates that there was some truck restrictions on Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's not really true. There's a blue sign there that recommends they turn right down Philadelphia Avenue, but there are no signs that say no trucks. And while I visited the site, I witnessed several trucks going into Pennsylvania Avenue.
I don't disagree with you, because looking at the PennDOT data that we had to review to base our volumes on, 30% of the volume that's on Pennsylvania Avenue today is truck traffic.
Yep.
Yeah.
That location taken just to the south of Philadelphia Avenue. So that's occurring directly, up the road in Morrisville. That's not even in front of our site.
So, Brian, I think what you're pointing out, there is a restriction in Morrisville, because Morrisville is everything on the other side of Post Road. They do have a restriction against brake retarders along South Pennsylvania Avenue. They don't have the tonnage truck restrictions at that location. It would be up to them to petition PennDOT to put that in effect. And if the trucks do exit at Route 1, there is a sign there that we feel can be better positioned to take those trucks down Philadelphia to Bristol to Tyburn. And if they have to make that route several occasions, eventually they'll go directly to Tyburn. So we're in support and are willing to work with the borough and PennDOT in any way to deter that traffic on Pennsylvania Avenue. We can't impose those restrictions. We can only design our site so that we can force all those trucks to leave towards Tyburn. We're going to try to sign it accordingly, but certainly are willing to work with the borough if they want to impose those restrictions and provide additional signage off of Route 1.
Hey, Jeff, the trip generation manual, what kind of numbers do they put out for some use like this?
You're going to look at roughly 1,400 vehicles throughout the day, so 700 in, 700 out. And just in kind of round numbers, that would break down to 500 autos and 200 trucks a day.
Is that assuming 24-hour operation?
Yeah, that's over the course of a day. So that they provide daily traffic counts that we base that on the square footage.
Right. I did say that.
For just under 1 million square feet, you're looking at just under 1,400 trips a day. So that's coming up with the 500 vehicles in, coming in and out, and the 200 trucks coming in. And that kind of matches up with what we're proposing on site. We have 180 loading docks, and I think about 560 parking spaces. So the numbers kind of jive together and are consistent with what's being proposed on site as well.
Does anybody else have any other questions pertaining to the traffic situation? No? Then let's talk about the other impacts. That this whole property is a floodplain, and based on what I see, your narrative says, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the approximate elevation of 1% flood is 18.5. And it looks like the base elevation of the majority of the site is 15 feet. So that means you're going to have to raise it a foot above the flood to get to the first floor. So you're going to 900 some odd thousand square foot building has to be raised almost 4 feet.
Joseph, can you respond to that?
Yeah, the finished floor of the building will be elevated per ordinance, which is the local ordinance requires it to be a foot and a half above the FEMA, so the lowest floor would 18.5 would be at 20. We've done some analysis of this, of the fill on the site by, there are portions of it that are above, and based on analysis, we can come pretty much close to Allen's site with elevating the floor of the building above the floodplain. So we're not talking about bringing in excessive amounts of fill. We can achieve the raising our building above the floodplain with the existing material on site.
And then we're going to impact 17 acres of trees. Or you're going to impact more than 17 acres. You're exceeding the allowable by 17.5 acres. What is the total amount of trees we're going to remove? Do you know that?
Total acreage, or?
Yeah, that'll be fine. Whatever you have.
Well, and that's trees. Do not have that number. I'm sorry, I do not have that number in front of me. I'll have to get back to on that. But we would be complying with any tree removal would be complying with the ordinances. Whatever we cannot compensate, we would attempt to compensate and mitigate on site as much as feasible, and anything that it cannot be compensated on site, we would be providing the appropriate mitigation per the ordinance requirements.
And amazingly, there's a very small amount of wetlands. I thought there would be more.
I did too. I'll be honest with you.
even this wetlands, these numbers were the original numbers. Since this time, the applicant has applied for a jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps, and there were some of the wetlands areas that we originally identified, and they had after their site visit, they took a look at them and are not taking jurisdiction over some of those areas. So the wetlands actually went down slightly, and so that is pending the Army Corps jurisdictional determination.
And have you reached out to the water and sewer authorities to determine whether or not there's sufficient service for the building?
We are in the process of that. We've gotten the water and sewer plans from Solve, and now we're preparing that application and reaching out.
Brian, we're trying to get the old data because Solve does have credit for certain public water and sewer facilities there. So we're trying to get all the old data to figure out how much has been allocated to the property.
Okay. Any of the board members have any questions? Additional questions? I looked at the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan for this particular portion of the township calls for identifying options for using bodies of water that are, prevalent in the areas, and water related uses and reclamation. And this project would not provide any of that. In addition, it calls for protecting environmentally sensitive lands throughout the area. And I'm not comfortable with filling a floodplain 5 feet. And I don't believe that Post Road is a sufficient enough road to handle this additional traffic that you're proposing. I would be pretty mad if I lived there and all of a sudden there was a couple hundred cars a day going down my street. It's bad enough they're stuck with these two commercial or industrial buildings at the bottom of their street.
Right.
But I don't think we need to exacerbate that issue. So, you have anything else, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the post road and the use of that, we can look at that as part of the land development approval, if that's appropriate or not. Again, the focus here is to take the truck traffic on South Pennsylvania to Tyborn as part of this plan and avoid any of those residential homes. And we have no objection to working with the Planning Commission in those detailed designs. Again, these are preliminary. We wanted to give you a flavor so you can understand what's forthcoming on the request.
Any other board members have any other comments?
A lot of trees to be moved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like moving a forest.
So if there's no other comments or you have no other presentation, then I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Not really confident personally in this, so I'm not gonna.
All right, well, I will make a motion that we recommend not modifying the zoning ordinance to allow warehouses in the RD1 district. Is there a second?
We'll second.
Ed?
Aye.
What's that?
Yes, I agree.
Mary?
Agreed.
Tom?
Yeah, agree.
And I also say yes. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
John, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I guess we're ready for the second applicant.
Bringing in second applicants now.
Joe, you can wake up now.
You know, I'm here and listening. If you call upon me, I will definitely turn my video on. That's the way they told me to operate so they can see you guys instead of me.
All right. So the second item on our agenda is Airgas USA LLC, 51 Middle Drive, Fairless Hill, PA 19030. It's a amended final plan to removal of a maintenance shop, reduction in size of the office, and relocation of the driveway adjacent to the east property.
Good evening, Amy Farrell with Kaplan Stewart. I just want to make sure, I think we might be missing Wayne Kiefer.
No,
He's left you.
He's here.
No, I'm here.
Okay, I just don't see everybody on one screen. As I said, Amy Farrell with Kaplan Stewart. We're the attorneys for Airgas. We're here tonight in connection with a very minor application to amend the previously approved land development plans for the proposed Airgas facility at 51 Middle Drive, which is in the Township's Materials Processing and Manufacturing District, the MPM district. I do have with me this evening from Airgas, John Fick and Steve Mazielski, as well as Wayne Kiefer from Showalter, who is the civil engineer on the project. So I'll just give you a very brief overview, and then I'll ask them to fill in with more detail, and certainly we can answer any questions that you may have. If we're able to share a screen, Stephen actually has a couple of quick images that will help sort of clarify what the scope of this really is. Thank you. I'm sure you'll likely recall Airgas was approved back in October of 2018 to construct and operate an air separation unit that will produce oxygen, nitrogen, and argon for use by area hospitals and industrial processes throughout the region. They received a minor subdivision and a preliminary final land development approval back in October of 2018. And following receipt of that approval and the associated outside agency approvals, they began construction. They are nearing construction or completion of construction on the mechanical and the piping installations. They anticipate will happen sometime this fall, and they'll begin some of the electrical work in the coming weeks, with an anticipation that the first phase of the plant production would begin in early winter, February of 2021 or thereabouts. Stephen, if we could go to the second slide, please. Thank you. In connection with that ongoing construction, Airgas has identified 3 modifications to the approved plan that we're here tonight to discuss. And you can see on the screen now, on the left-hand side of the screen is the plan as it was originally approved. On the right-hand side of the screen is the modified plan, and we've drawn 3 kind of orange boxes around the areas that are subject to amendment. So specifically, along the eastern side of the property, the proposed roadway is being moved 26 feet into the property, so 26 feet away from the property line. We are also proposing right in the center of your screen, you can see an orange rectangle that's replacing the office control structure with a smaller building, which allows us to also pick up a tiny bit of additional landscaping around that, that building. And finally, in what's now the kind of lower left corner of your screen is the third box. That area was previously approved as asphalt at the truck loading zone, and we're proposing to modify that to change it to concrete. We did receive review letters from the township engineer, and we certainly can go through those comments this evening as well. So I would first ask Stephen to just give you a brief update on operations and construction at the site, and then we'll ask Wayne to go through that review letter and certainly answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Amy. So as Amy mentioned, so currently on site, we're nearing mechanical completion. So that's our equipment erection and the interconnecting piping, process piping phase. So hopefully that will be wrapped up sometime in September. And momentarily here in the next few weeks, we're mobilizing a local electrical firm to begin the electrical construction works on site. As Amy mentioned, the target right now for our first industrial production, so the time we'll first start making product, is probably in early 2021 at this time.
And with that, Wayne, if you would please, if you could walk through with respect to the July 17th review letter from the township engineer. There were just 4 general comments there. We just want to make sure we touch on each of those.
Right. Hey, before you do that, Joe, for the waivers that are listed on your letter, are they previously granted?
Mr. Chairman, they were previously granted, and these are only recounted because they're somewhat affected by the minor modifications.
All right, I just wanted to make clear that there wasn't any additional one. So we can bypass that portion of the letter if you just want to comment on the general comments on the.
Yes, as was said, there were 4 comments, 2 being to address any comments from the fire marshal, which we will do and coordinate with him. The only change that really impacts the fire marshal review is on the right-hand side. We had 1 fire hydrant that had to be relocated about 10 feet because it was in the middle of the new roadway area. Traffic engineer has sent an email to the township last week saying that all his previous comments have been addressed. Number 3, the proposed lights, they were between the right property line and the roadway. We left those lights where they had previously been located. We believe all illumination levels have been met, and with the industrial site, we just felt there was some long-term benefit to having those lights further away from the drive. And then the 4th comment is for the record plan to be revised to indicate amended final plan. That's obviously will comply.
Mr. Jones, have you looked at the lighting plan? Does it still comply with the requirements?
It does along the driveway, yes.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
If there's none, Joe, you have anything to add?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend amended final land development application for Airgas USA LLC at 51 Middle Drive, tax parcel map 13, 51-1 Zone MPM, Township of Falls Township, Bucks County, PA, JEA Project LD 20-10. The amend final plan consists with the removal of 5,096 square foot maintenance building and the reduction size of the proposed office from 3,321 square feet to 1,415 square feet, and the relocation of the driveway adjacent to the east property line of 12 feet from the property line and 38 feet from the property line, with the continuation of all waivers that were approved priorly to continue. With the general comments that all comments in the Falls Township Fire Marshals will be addressed. All comments from the Falls Township Traffic Engineer will be addressed. And the record plan must be revised to indicate amended final plan.
Before I ask for a second, Diane, I guess I should have asked this before. There's no public. Is there any public signed on?
Not that I'm aware of. No, John, there's nobody in here for
No
any-
public comment.
no public. Yes.
All right, thanks. I guess I should have asked that for the last applicant too. All right, I'll entertain a second.
One second.
All right, second by Mary. Ed?
Made it, yeah.
Yes. Mary?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I am yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is Empire Sunshine Fiber, KIPC Complex, Zone MPM, preliminary land development, construct a paper recycling facility with related improvements. I guess, Mr. Fox, you're going to do this talking?
Yes, sir. Mr. Benny, how you doing tonight?
Good, thank you.
Great. Nate Fox of Overmeyer, Redmond, Maxwell, and Hipple on behalf of the applicant Empire Sunshine Fiber. We're requesting a recommendation this evening from the Planning Commission for preliminary and final approval on our subdivision land development application for a recycle market pulp mill manufacturing facility located in the MPM Materials Processing and Manufacturing Zoning District. Property is located at tax map parcel 13-51-1 in the Keystone Industrial Port Complex. With evening are Jim Austin, CEO of Empire Sunshine Fiber, Wayne Kiefer, our engineer from RL Showalter and Associates. I believe we also have a Dr. Labib Chabani, engineer from Sadat Associates Inc. And way of brief background on the property. The lotted issue is 33.62 acres plus or minus, which will be developed into a total of approximately 260,000 square feet of facilities related to the market pulp mill manufacturing facility, broken out as follows: 120,000 square foot bale warehouse, 120,000 square foot and change pulp dryer building, and 40,800 square feet plus or minus of finished bale warehousing and maintenance. Those can be seen from left to right in order on the plan if you have that in front of you this evening. Along with that, there will be and related site improvements. And this property is very attractive to my client due to the zoning, location, and related location to transport facilities being roadway and water. Our review letters are will lie in nature, subject, of course, to waivers requested that we're happy to discuss tonight, and a variance granted recently by the Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board. So before going through the review letters, I'd ask first if there are any questions of the Falls Township Planning Commission, or if I can introduce Jim Austin to give you an overview of the operation, what will be seen out there, what it will look and feel like, and the job creation to be anticipated at this facility.
Well, I think a brief overview would be a good right now, and it may eliminate some questions that some people may have.
Great. Jim, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Good evening.
Great. Do you mind giving us the overview summary, telling the members of the Planning Commission what's to happen, provided we get our approvals for this property?
All right. I'd be delighted. My name is Jim Austin, and as Mr. Fox has stated, I am the CEO of Empire Sunshine Fiber, which is a joint venture between Empire Recycled Fiber, a local company that entered into a joint venture with a company from Weifeng, China. Our strategic partner in this currently produces in excess of 1 million tons of recovered paper in their 3 mills in China. Subsequently, as a result of the changes in Chinese regulations, there is some restrictions on the ability to import waste paper, as this company and China has done for the last 30 years. The facility that we've basically gone into a design and financing mode is being designed to produce roughly 1,550 tons a day of recycled market pulp. In order to produce that, we need 1,500 tons a day or 500,000 tons a year of local old corrugated containers and mixed paper. The project is basically designed and is in the current phases of financing. We've secured a $129 million bond cap allocation from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Morgan Stanley is the underwriters on the bond placement, with expectations and schedules to go into the financing mode in October, with a notice to proceed with construction in November. It'll take us approximately 16 to 18 months to build the facility. It'll basically take us into the second quarter of 2022, at which time the facility would commence commercial operation. Full-time employment at the plant is 110 individuals. That's a combination of roughly 15 to 18 management staff, the balance of which are maintenance operational personnel. The plant runs 24/7. It takes 5 to 7 days a year down for scheduled maintenance, but in practical, like most paper mills, runs at full capacity 24/7. There are no odors associated with the facility. It's strictly a mechanical fiber processing system. There is no noise associated with the facility. Once operational, you would see some steam coming from our package boiler generating steam for the facility, and some air emissions coming off the facility that are basically evaporations of steam going through the plant. The intent of the company, obviously, and we've rehired the Sadat Associates of Trenton, New Jersey to execute the permits for the project. The issue with our NPDES permit was submitted in last week. We fully expect to see and hope to see all of our permits to commence construction in the October, 1st of November timeline. The capital cost estimate on the project is in the neighborhood of $145 to $150 million. We've hired Yates EPC contract out of Birmingham, Alabama, to basically oversee the basic design, detailed engineering, and subsequently the construction of the plant itself. It's our intent to obviously stay focused, attempt to bring this project online as scheduled. This, we hope, brings one of the major strategic partners into this region with the intent of either building a second plant at some point in time in another part of the country. But at the moment, we're sincerely appreciative of your time and efforts to review our application, and be glad to answer any questions you may have.
So Mr. Austin, you said that you need to bring in 1,500 tons of material a day to produce your 1,500 tons a day. What is the circulation of that material. So like once the product's been processed, is 1,500 tons a day leaving the site also?
Yes, that's correct. Well, actually, we're bringing in 1,500 tons a day of recovered fiber. Once you put it through a processing facility, you're removing some materials that are contaminants or short fibers where the length of the cellulose is no longer adequate to create hydrogen bonding and actually form a sheet of paper, or in this case, a sheet of pulp. So we're manufacturing a finished product called recovered market pulp, which becomes the feedstock that then gets dried into bales, about 500 pounds apiece. Those bales are then shipped to our strategic partner in China, who's basically entered into a 20-year contract to buy the output of this plant, tied to the pricing of recovered fiber here in the Mid-Atlantic area. That raw material is their basic feedstock. So to answer your question, we're bringing in 1,500 tons a day of raw material, and we're shipping out 1,250 tons a day of finished product.
And so I'm assuming the material coming in is going to be coming in trucks. Is the material leaving just going to go to the port and leave the port?
That is correct. Our current strategy is that we would basically be bringing in the majority of our raw material from regional recovered fiber suppliers via truck. And these are basically 25 to 35 regional recovered paper processing companies. The material would come to us by truck. There is the option, of course, one we will continue to look at is bringing material in by rail into the Kinder Morgan facility and transloading it. The other option that we look at, have not finalized, but are evaluating, is the possibility of bringing this material into the Kinder Morgan dock by barges. Those are the three modes of bringing material in. At the same time, what we've analyzed is the most efficient way to move the finished product back to China is to load it from the back of the plant into shipping containers, transporting those containers to Newark or Elizabeth or Philadelphia for transloading onto container vessels and shipment back to China. It's the company's expectation that many of the containers that we would be loading would also be bringing recovered fiber to the plant, again, to maximize the efficiency of the truck transportation side of it. We obviously also look at intermodal transportation of actually putting those containers on flatbed rail cars and moving them to one of the local ports. The third option is to break bulk ship that material into ocean-going vessels at the Kinder Morgan facility. That's a 40-foot draft dock. It takes ocean-going vessels, and it's one of the means that we're looking into to basically move our finished product back to China.
And how many trucks does it take to transport 1,500 tons a day?
The analysis that we've done through our traffic study, you're looking at 72 trucks a day on a 16 to 18 hour day, and the outbound side, you're looking at 60 trucks a day out. And again, that's on a 16 to 18 hour day, 7 days a week. So you're looking at 5 to 6 trucks an hour, basically. And that was one of the attractions that we looked at this site, was the ability to bring that kind of volume into the site without being on local roads. The access to the KIPC facility is ideal from a standpoint of the transportation piece. We're sited next door to the Fairless Energy power plant that we're talking to about a long-term steam supply agreement to us. The site obviously has abundant high-powered electric service capabilities, abundant processed water, and the ability to basically run an industrial facility with having minimal impact on local residents.
Does any board members have any questions for Mr. Austin before we move on to the letters?
I have a question. You were saying how much was coming in and how much was going out as final product. Am I right that you think that there's going to be like 12,000 tons of waste there a day?
No, it's 1,500 tons a day of waste coming in. The plant will consume 500,000 tons a year of recovered fiber. Part of the reason that we've selected this location, if you look at a circle within 125 miles of Fairless Hills, you have a population of 37 million people. That population generates 4.5 million tons a year of recovered paper. The ability to attract that kind of volume at a close proximity reduces the transportation cost. It obviously provides us assurance that the raw material and the availability of that raw material in that abundant supply ratio would always be available to keep our facility running 100%.
I think Ed's question was more in concern with, and Ed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the amount of waste. So if you're bringing in 1,500 tons a day, and with that 1,500 tons, you're sending out 1,250 tons of finished goods. What happens to the other 50 tons?
Good question. Good question. The paper that we bring into the plant is basically 3 to 4% moisture content. The product we're shipping out is 10 to 12% moisture content. So there's a variation there. When we bring the recovered fiber into the plant, we put it through a processing facility that removes elements of contaminants, plastic, paper clips, tapes, styrofoam that have to come out of the line. In addition to that, the fiber, as it is recycled in our recovering systems, every time it's refined, it shortens the fiber. As you shorten the fiber, you decrease its value and its ability to form hydrogen bonding. That material is short fiber residual rejects. It constitutes 2/3 of all of the material that we're going to reject out of that inbound stream. That material qualifies for daily cover, and we have an agreement with Waste Management to take that material from our plant, put it into their landfill frankly, as a beneficial use to operating their plant. So it's not a disposal of trash. It's basically reusing those short fiber residuals as an alternative to Waste Management buying other materials for daily cover, like topsoil. The element of trash in that equation is just that. It is trash, and it constitutes some landfill. And it's approximately 2.5 containers a day that we estimate would be trash that would be driven up to the Waste Management landfill and disposed of.
When you say 2.5 containers, you're talking 30
It's
yards?
45 tons a day, approximately.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mr. Fox, we can move on to the review letter.
Sure. Jones Engineer, and thank you, Jim. And Jones Engineering Associates review letter of July 15, 2020. We are will comply. Then, by my count, about nine waivers, which I'm happy to discuss and like us to go point by point through the review letter.
If you would just discuss the waivers, that would be okay with us.
Sure. So on page 2, under subdivision and land development comments, waiver, third item down, waiver from 191, section 31A, requiring a paved cartway of 36 feet and curbs along the property streets. Wayne, would you mind jumping in and directing the members of the Planning Commission what they should look at on the plan and the scope of the waiver we're requesting here?
The property is bounded by 3 different roads, Energy Drive, Middle Drive, and Southport. All roads are private roads owned by USX and maintained by them. So we'd ask for a waiver of improvements to those roads, I think, as opposed to the other projects within the KIPC.
Great. Thank you. Any discussion, questions on that waiver request?
We're not shy. We'll jump in.
All right. All right. Next page, page 3, second, third, fourth, and fifth item down, all from section 191, 37, section B, G1, G2, and G4. I will quantify these all as design and somewhat planting requirements here, largely driven by the location and surrounding area of the property. Wayne, would you mind putting your technical expertise to the summary and helping me explain what exactly we're looking for with each of these waivers?
I think you hit it pretty well. The first one is for green space between the curb and the site. Again, as you said, these are all private roads within the KIPC property. There is a comment in there from Jones Engineering regarding curb where gutter flow is designed, and we will address that with the engineer prior to finalizing the plans. The other ones are all regarding curbs and trees within the site that I believe are typically waived in this area.
Great, thank you.
All right, so just to be clear, that's from 191.37B all the way down to 191.37G4.
That's correct. And then two more items on this page. We're requesting a waiver from section 191.44D regarding slopes being a minimum 5 feet from the property line due to grading improvements adjacent to the proposed area. We simply have to have this waiver just given the way that the existing slopes lay out here. And Wayne, any particular reason or site-specific condition that we need to make the Planning Commission aware of as to why we need this waiver?
No, it's mostly on the north end of the property where we're fairly close to the property line. The one thing to keep in mind is this site will be leased from USX, and all the surrounding property is owned by USX.
Great, thank you.
So can I ask one question in relationship to that? I think it's going to be these existing stormwater management basins that are along the Dominion Power. They're going to remain as is, or are they getting expanded?
They will both be expanded.
And do they serve Dominion? Is that what they're for?
And, they are existing to serve the site in general.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And next item, last item on page 3, section 191.45C, regarding no permanent structure be permitted to be placed within the area of the easement. We have multiple structures that are proposed. We are and will have letters from the easement holders permitting these structures or granting the approval. Therefore, and Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the wastewater facility and the package boiler and perhaps some parking facilities. Are there any other structures that I'm missing that will be within an easement area?
No, there are no buildings within the high tension lines, but I think you have the structures that are proposed within the easements. I will note, just for fun, it's a 33-acre site with over 16 acres of easements on it.
Since we mentioned the wastewater facility, is that pre-treatment?
Yes, it is.
And I guess the boiler package is to generate steam?
Yes, for the plant.
Yeah.
That you hope to buy from Dominion later, right?
If you'd like me to jump in on that, I'd be delighted to.
Yeah, go ahead.
The intent obviously is to make sure we have solid options Building and supplying our own steam is the highest probability for us to move the project forward. We were approached by Fearless Energy over a year ago to basically provide us incremental steam based on their load capacities. And so we've continued to listen to multiple proposals from them. And every month the proposals seem to get a little more attractive. A final decision has not been made yet. So we've made the decision to basically make sure we had permissions, approval, and capital requirement to build our own steam supply. Once indeed we do have a proposal that is advantageous to both parties, we'd ultimately obviously make that decision and come back for a site modification if required.
All right. You continue, Mr. Fox.
All right, thank you. Next page, page 4, 2 waiver items, and these are the last 2 waiver items, and anything, we're happy then to discuss anything Planning Commission would like to. First item on this page is from section 191, 48A, similar to the earlier group of waivers, requesting a waiver requiring street trees along all property frontages, just not conducive to this area. And Wayne, any other point we should add to that request?
I think we've covered it.
And then final waiver requested, 191-62B, providing curbs and widening along streets at front along the project. And I think same reasons as previous, not customary in the area. These are all, this is not typically done within the KIPC. So with that, I believe, Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, that concludes the waivers we've requested, and everything else in our letters is a will comply, and that letter is a will comply, and happy to discuss anything further.
That is correct.
I guess since John's not here, I have to ask this question. So I noticed that the water supply is coming in from the north side of the property, and it's making a loop around the building. What kind of a fire load does this place have?
Wayne, you want to take a stab at that?
We have not done any fire load calculations on the building yet, but we are in working with USX to make sure that we have water supply and source supply as necessary. And they were a couple of the comments in the Jones Engineering review letter.
So I do note that there is a water line on South Post Road in your plans. I did see it. So at the very least, I would like to see that looped out to South Post Road instead of just having one supply in the event there's a fire. I'm a fireman, okay? So, and John's a fireman. He's not here with us today, but I would like to see another main connection out to South Post Road. And I also note that your fire hydrants seem to be really close to the building. And they're within the fall zone. If something bad were to happen here, the fire trucks would be there at the fire hydrants. They're within the fall zone of your building. I assume your building's going to be fairly tall. And so I think you may want to consider looking at moving some of those fire hydrants away from the building.
Yeah, we'll work.
That's a very fair request. Yeah.
I didn't see. Did we have a Remington Vernick letter?
We do.
And that's all will comply also?
June 30, that is all will comply. And we'll also note, in an abundance of caution, our traffic, that review letter will comply based on a set of assumptions that are extremely conservative for a facility. So we think we're well in line, and gave the Remington and Vernick some assumptions that are even greater than what should be anticipated for this site. So I think we should be in good shape there.
Any board members have any questions? comments?
Does your process involve any kind of pressurized vessels, anything with the potential for, any kind of catastrophic failure? There is a boiler on site, which obviously would have to have safety devices on it. But do you have anything in your process that needs that?
No, we do not.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, you have anything to add?
Just I believe, and Mr. Fox, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's another waiver on page 5. It's a partial for 19178C2 surrounding topography.
Page 5 and on 78C2. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, that is correct.
Forgive me, I skipped that as that was requested in there. My apologies, Mr. Jones. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Is there one on the following page as well? The applicant is requesting a waiver from this section, 191-79D9, right?
I think that might be a typographical error on our part. I don't know if that was actually requested from the application or whether that just was a carryover from another review.
All right.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the preliminary land development application, Empire Sunshine Fiber LLC, Middle Drive KIPC, PO TMP number 13-051-001, zoned MPM, JEA project number LD20-06. Based on the Jones Engineering Associates letter dated July 15th, 2020, the Fire Marshal letter dated June 30th, 2020, and the Horner and Contier Associates traffic assessment letter dated April 27th, 2020, with waivers of 191-31A, 191-37B, 191-37G1, 191-37G2, 191-37G4, 191-44D, 191-45C, 191-48A, 191-62B, and a partial waiver of 191-78C2.
Mary, just to clarify, the Horner Cantor Associates letter is their traffic engineer, so the appropriate letter that they can apply with is the Remington Burnick letter.
Okay.
Which I don't think we received.
I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have the Remington Burnick letter.
Mr. Fox, what was that date on that letter, Remington Burnick?
June 30, 2020. And forgive me, maybe my connection. Is the recommendation preliminary or preliminary and final?
The recommendation was for preliminary. So Mary, you want to amend your motion to include the Remington Burnick letter dated June 30th,
Yes, I would like to
2020?
amend it for June 30th, 2020.
Second for preliminary approval, land development.
Ed?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, the last item is the approval of the minutes from June 23rd.
Recommend approval of minutes from June 23rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I guess a motion to adjourn.
Sounds good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
5-4?
Yep.
Was that a yes or a no?